Before we begin, I'd like to make some quick shout-outs. I recently did my first guest appearance on Legend of Portalcast. If you can't get enough of Avatar, check out Legend of Portalcast. I would say this podcast, Beyond Bending podcast, is like intermediate. Legend of Portalcast is very advanced. In a sense, in this podcast we go episodic, and Legend of Portalcast views the whole show as a whole. And the episode I was on was about non-bending combatants, so go ahead and check them out. I apologize in advance for me sucking at collecting my thoughts, so sorry for all of my ums and uhs if you check out the episode. I'd also like to announce that if you are in Southern California, we are going to be at Anime Pasadena on April 20th. Tickets are around $20, I think. And the voice of Uncle Iroh will be there, Greg Baldwin. So I'm really excited to meet him. And the team of Beyond Bending podcast, myself, Eddie, Brian might be there, Joanne and Anthony, and maybe a couple other people. We're going to be at Anime Pasadena handing out podcast stickers. And you can't miss us. We have Aang's face on the back of our shirts. It's going to be hard to miss. So yeah, if you're in the area, let us know. Let us know on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter if you're planning on going, and then we can meet up and talk about Avatar. But yeah, without further ado, warning. The following podcast contains massive spoilers. If you haven't seen Avatar The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra yet, and don't mind spoilers, hopefully this podcast will inspire you to watch along with us. Now let's begin. Hello, welcome to Beyond Bending, a show about a bunch of millennials analyzing an animated kids show, Avatar, The Last Airbender. I'm your host, Marilyn Chanthala, and today's special guest I have...
Hello, it's me, Anthony Joco, and I have bad voice.
What happened?
I got sick again.
No!
I thought I was over it, but...
The Selena Gomez virus.
She came back.
So this is what Anthony's supposed to sound like.
Hello, I'm Anthony Joco.
Hello, I'm bad. I just have bad audio all the time. Bad audio follows me.
The listeners are never gonna know what you truly sound like.
It's on purpose.
Say, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
Whoa.
It's bad.
Alright, so the episode we're going to be covering today is Book 1 Water, Episode 9, The Waterbending Scroll. So the episode starts off with the gang flying through some mountains. Aang is freaking out and having a mini panic attack about the whole comet thing, and Sokka tells him to calm down, but manages to make things worse because, well, he's Sokka.
True.
Katara calms him down by grabbing his hands and tells him that she'll teach him everything she knows about waterbending. Aang gets excited, and the gang decides to land right next to a waterfall so that they can practice. Appa cannonballs into the water and splashes poor Momo. Aang is already half naked and about to jump in, but Katara stops him and reminds him why they're there. Aang's like, oh, right. And Sokka asks, well, what do I do while the two of you are waterbending? Aang's like, you can clean the gunk off of Appa's feet. And Sokka just stares at him. And he's like, alright. He grabs the stick from Aang and walks away.
I really like that. It's so dumb. That interaction's so silly. Because you expect Sokka to just be like, what? And he just goes, alright, I guess. I guess he just hates waterbending that much.
We cut to Zuko practicing firebending on his ship. The ship steers abruptly, which causes Zuko to lose his balance. He barges into the captain's room, and he's like, what's the meaning of this? Uncle Iroh tells him that he told the captain to change course because he lost one of his Pai Sho tiles. But it's not just any Pai Sho tile that he lost. It was the Lotus tile. Zuko's like, are you fucking kidding me? And blows out fire/smoke that fills up the entire room. And Uncle Iroh's just fanning himself, and he's like, I'm glad I have an understanding, Nafu. We cut back to, do you know what it's called, Anthony? The bottom of a waterfall?
The bottom of a waterfall? I don't know.
Okay, so I Googled it, and I feel like Google doesn't even know. It gave me the term plunge pool.
Okay.
Or waterfall basin.
Okay, those sound alright. Plunge pool sounds cool. It's alliteration. It's like, oh yeah, let's go to the plunge pool after work, guys. let's take a break.
All right, so I'm gonna refer to that area.
The plunge pool. It sounds like a good bar or like a good restaurant. Or you go, oh, I like to go to the plunge pool. I don't know, it's good.
So anyways, we cut back to the plunge pool, and Appa's just like chilling in the plunge pool and floating on his back, which is so cute. And Sokka's standing on his belly and scrubbing in between his fingers. To the side of the plunge pool, Katara is teaching Aang how to push and pull the water. She tells Aang to not get frustrated if he doesn't get it right away, and Katara starts demonstrating the push and pull method, and Aang decides to get up to try it himself. And just like that, he nails it. And Katara's like, wow, it took me 2 months to learn that move. And Aang's such a kiss-ass. He's like, well, I have a great teacher. And of course, this cheers Katara up. She moves on to the next lesson and says, I call this streaming the water. It's harder than it looks, so don't be disappointed if, but before she can finish her sentence, she looks over and sees Aang streaming the water like he's fucking Bob Ross.
Oh, also, wait, before we get further on, I also really like the shot with the push-pulling, and you could see Katara clearly doing it, right? And then Aang's like, oh yeah, let me try. And I was like, oh, don't worry, it'll take you a while. And it zooms out. Like, that little zoom out is so good because it shows him, like, just doing it really well. And that little visual gag was really good, I feel.
Yeah, the way this episode is animated, Katara's annoyed as fuck. And her eyebrows, like the animation in this show is spot on. Like her eyebrows go all the way up here. You can't see me, but I'm drawing my eyebrows like on my forehead because that's how they drew Katara. She moves on to the next lesson and tells him that there's one more move that she knows, but even she hasn't mastered it yet. The idea is to make a big, powerful wave, she says. Katara tries to lift up, I would say 5 gallons of water in the air, but fails. Aang's like, do you mean like this? And just lifts his arms up nonchalantly and makes a 50-foot wave. Sokka's freaking out because the wave is heading right towards him, and of course it crashes into him and Appa, and Katara's bitter as fuck and says that practice is over. Poor Sokka. He's just collateral damage in all of this. He's like, great, you just washed all of our supplies down the river. And Aang's like, sorry.
He's always the victim of other bending. I don't know.
Poor Katara, her ego just got completely shattered.
I like this segment and like this whole episode in general and how it characterizes Katara. It's the first episode that focuses on her character outside of her nurturing Aang and Sokka. Watching the episodes up to this, I was like, oh man, I was like worried and kind of annoyed because it's like, that's largely what she's there for a long time. Always like the one there to calm down Aang when he's like about to go in Avatar state. It's like, oh no, it's okay. But this one is like one that lets her be. And to directly kind of like contrast that, this is one where she actually gets frustrated with Aang. And I love that. I like the new dynamic that it introduces, even if it's just for this episode, where Katara isn't just being a caretaker for Aang. In this case, it shows off her being actually jealous of Aang's skill. This is kind of the first time we measure the two of them up as benders, because before it was Aang kind of just being like, oh cool, you're a waterbender, and like now that he's actually like dipping his toes in. And I like that they characterize her like that. It gives her more dimension, and she's not like Mary Sue or whatever. Oh, also, in terms of Aang, this is the first time we see him actually start to get worried. Before this, he had like his laundry list of things he wanted to do, right? Which is like really childish things. I want to go sail on the koi fish. I want to do this thing. But now he's like, I gotta learn bending now, guys. So it's kind of interesting to see that gravity kind of start to like weigh on him. And it'll continue to do that in the next few episodes too. And I think it's kind of a signifier of like where the journey is about to go. It's starting to get a little serious now, even though this episode's pretty like light.
When Aang is freaking out on like...
just like pacing?
Yeah. You see Sokka and he's flying Appa and it's so cute. Like, I didn't notice it before, but Sokka and Appa bond in this episode. Yeah. They have a couple moments together. He's like flying him, bathing him, taking care of him while Aang is freaking out.
Is this the first time we see Sokka driving Appa?
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
Is this the first time we see anyone besides Aang? No, Katara. Yeah, because Katara flew Appa in Winter Solstice Part 1. And so it's Sokka's turn now.
It's not this episode, but I think in the jet episode we also see him driving. It's weird to say driving.
We're driving Appa.
Piloting Appa. But yeah, like that kind of goes into the next episode when they're flying away from Jet. Sokka's just like, yip, yip. Or whatever. It's like, wow. You got used to it real quick. It's nice to see Sokka kind of growing into that position. He'd always used to joke about, like, even in the beginning, it's like, oh yeah, magic flying bison, whatever.
Yeah, throughout the show, Appa has kind of given Sokka shit in terms of always sneezing on him or licking him. But I guess it's his way of affection.
Shows that Appa's really comfortable around Sokka. Who knows?
But yeah, I think it's really interesting to watch Aang pick up waterbending so easily because it's a huge contrast to later when we watch him learn firebending. When he is waterbending, you see him just like lift up his arms nonchalantly, just with ease, and that creates a 50-foot wave, which is in this moment harmless for now. But contrasting that when he does firebending for the first time and he is careless like that, he ends up burning Katara.
Yeah.
And so with waterbending, I feel like he could be more carefree.
Yeah, because like since it's water, you're not going to necessarily harm people with it, right? But even in here, it has consequences. He washes away all their supplies. So like he still has to learn that control. And while it does come to him really easily, it's like that control that's important.
Right. And that control we see
Katara not having. Oh, that's another thing in terms of Katara's characterization in this episode. It's like we see her so flustered that she cannot get her bending together. She is so like caught up and frustrated that she can't even like do like a simple thing or whatever, right? Like I don't know much about Tai Chi, but I feel it's because like she's so far from being in flow, it disrupts her bending. Was it in Avatar and Korra where it talks about like every avatar struggles with one element or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Is it their personality or their first bending that they're born into? You know, like Aang has trouble with fire because he started off as an airbender, and Korra has trouble with airbending because she's a waterbender, which is weird because you'd think that like with Aang it comes supernatural to him to do waterbending, so you'd think it would translate.
That's a good question.
We will investigate further as we go on.
Yeah, it's interesting because with Aang, his personality and his airbending style matches because it's so carefree. I mean, he's been up in the Southern Air Temple where it's limitless. Like he...
whatever he wants.
Yeah, and he's surrounded by airbenders that can take whatever he dishes out and recover from it. With waterbending, sure, like he makes a 50-foot wave crash into Sokka and Appa, but they bounce back from it. And when he meets Zhang, even Zhang says, like, you're not ready. Like, he's not ready. And Avatar Roku steps in and is like, no, teach me, I'm ready. But Aang's not ready. And so there is this weird dynamic that we talked about in the previous episode with Alyssa, where we tried to analyze the Avatar state and past lives, and if you are ultimately the same person, or if you are a different person but just like reborn over and over again. And so it is interesting how Avatar Roku says that Aang is ready, but Aang isn't ready.
Not ready.
And we see, like, with these minor moves, especially in firebending, it's dangerous. And if you can't control that, we see how it backfires later with the other firebenders that aren't able to control it, including Aang. But anyways, I also wanted to talk about the scene with the lotus tile and how Zuko's like, what the fuck? What's so important about this lotus tile? And we get a great quote from Uncle Iroh. He like makes the okay symbol with his hand and he like jabs it and he's like, see, you like most people underestimate its value. And his face and the crew member behind him, I kid you not, like that crew member was like cross-eyed or something. It's just so ridiculous. Like I really wanted to take a screenshot and put it on the podcast Instagram page, but I didn't want to get in trouble.
I mean, if you cop it enough, maybe you can.
But yeah, I highly recommend you go back. If any of the fans can go to this certain part of the episode, the screenshot is amazing. We also get another quote from Uncle Iroh where he says, "Most people think the lotus tile insignificant, but it is essential for the unusual strategy that I employ." Ooh, foreshadowing. It's funny because I have to admit, I actually did try to screenshot it on my phone, but Amazon Video won't let you.
Oh, Netflix does that too.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you try to do, like, a screen cap, it'll either just not do it or give you just a black screen. And it's like, oh, so annoying.
I could see where they're coming from.
Just give the listeners the timestamp and they'll be able to see it probably.
The timestamp is
3:55.
You can check it out at this time. But yeah, let's continue. So back to episode 9. The gang is now shopping around near the docks, and there's like a lot of really suspicious people hanging around there looking hella shady. Sokka tells them that they only have 3 copper pieces left from the money King Bumi gave them. Aang's like, actually, we only have 2, and pulls out a whistle that's in the shape of Appa. He blows on it, but nothing happens. Sokka's giving him shit for buying it, and even Katara is like, let me hold on to the money from now on, Aang. And it's like, oh man.
You're like, okay.
Poor Aang. Like, don't worry. He's gonna get vindicated later. Little do they know, ... As the gang continues walking around the docks, they walk past a guy that's like hardcore trying to convince them to come onto his ship. Fun fact, this character that is hardcore selling them is voiced by Bryan Konietzko.
Oh my goodness.
Shout out to Colin from Legend of Portalcast for pointing this out to me. And so in the credits, the character's name is labeled as Pirate Barker.
Pirate Barker? Okay, because he's like barking at people to come in. Makes sense. He also has a really, I don't know, it's like a weird audio snippet. Like near the end of the episode, I think one of the thugs or whatever throws Sokka onto like the mast or whatever. And he just says, "That's good." In like a really weird way. I'm like, what a weird line to give. And it's like, of course, it's him.
But yeah, the pirate Barker grabs Aang and drags him inside. As the gang is browsing around the ship, the captain pops out from behind Aang like a total creep and offers to buy Momo off of him. Aang's like, "Momo's not for sale," and starts backing away. Meanwhile, Katara sees a scroll with the same emblem on it as her necklace. She opens it up and realizes that it's a waterbending scroll. Both Aang and Katara are like, whoa, and asks where the captain got it. The captain grabs it, like aggressively from them, and says he got it up north for free. He puts it back on the shelf where Katara found it, and we cut to Sokka just like putting his fingers on his chin, and he's like, wait a minute. And this is when Sokka's light bulb takes a long time to light up. Like it just starts flickering, and he's like, wait a minute. Sea-loving traders with suspiciously acquired merchandise and pet reptile birds? You guys are pirates! And he just spits all over the pirate Barker's face, or Bryan Konietzko's face. And I noticed the spit this time around, and I was like, oh wow, the attention to detail. The pirate Barker says, "We prefer high-risk traders."
It's like the PR term for it. It's like the focus group tested term for pirates. It's like, oh, no. We don't go by that anymore. We're high-risk traders now.
Ew. The pirate goes on to tell the gang that he already has a buyer, a nobleman in the Earth Kingdom. Wink, wink. Hey, do you think it's Longfang?
I don't know. I don't remember.
What? How do you not remember, Anthony?
I need to rewatch it.
Oh my god. Well, I think it's Longfang.
Have me back on that episode.
Aang starts trying to haggle with the captain, and it doesn't work. He tries it again, and the captain gets annoyed. Katara tells him that she wants to leave because she feels really uncomfortable in there, and so they end up bouncing. Aang's like, hey, what was that about? And Katara says she'll feel safer once they get away. The pirate Barker runs out, and he's like, hey, you, get back here. And Aang's like all excited because he thought his haggling worked.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the case. The gang turns around and sees all of the pirates running at them. I swear, like, all of those pirates had every weapon known to mankind. I paused the show because I had to write it down. You got ice picks, you got spears, swords, a nunchuck, and one of the guys had, like, a rock with a chain.
What? Does you really?
Yeah, like a rock with a chain wrapped around it.
Wow.
And in my head, I was like, how is that a weapon?
Yeah, you have so many to choose from.
But you see it later being very useful. The gang books it, and they start running down this street in the docks, and you see the Cabbage Man there. And poor Cabbage Man, he's like a victim in all of this. Aang airflakes his cabbage cart at the pirates, and the Cabbage Man's like, oh man, this place is worse than Omashu.
Is that appearance number 2?
Yeah. The pirates corner them and tell them to give up. Aang tells Katara and Sokka to hold on, flakes dust at the pirates to distract them, and starts airbending away. Katara and Sokka grab his legs and they fly off. And I was like, wait. Either Aang has like the best core ever that he can carry, that's got to be like 200 pounds?
Yeah.
And still be able to airbend?
Right, yeah.
Or he's got legs of steel. Like, how does that...
It's that avatar strength. It's like part of his training regimen. He's doing sit-ups all day.
Also, Katara and Sokka must have like biceps of steel to be able to hold on for, I would say, maybe like 10 minutes while they fly away, or like a good 5 minutes, just dangling in the air, and they could like free fall at any second. Anyways, that whole thing is just terrifying.
Yeah, maybe it's Aang bending. I think maybe Aang's just hella fit. Boy's built like a rock.
Also, Aang, like, what the heck? You can't just ask a girl why she's uncomfortable in a setting and then ask for an explanation. Like, come on, Aang.
He doesn't have experience.
The scene literally before that was him backing away from the shady-ass pirate that is about to steal Momo. And you're asking Katara why she left because she was uncomfortable? Like, this is where I see the screenwriters writing something to hint why Katara's acting this way to lead up to, of course, us finding out that she stole the scroll.
Yeah.
I think that goes against Aang's character.
Like, it's weird because they write his degree of like naivety on like a sliding scale. Sometimes he's ignorant as hell. Sometimes he's wise beyond his years. And in this case, he's kind of ignorant. Like, that's his core thing, right? He's like a child. It's that thing that fuels him. And it comes with both positives and negatives. And in this case, it's like, he's just ignorant. Sometimes.
Speaking of pirates, poor Bryan from episode 6 on our podcast, Bryan Konietzko, where Bryan was really annoyed that none of the characters in episode 6 Imprisoned recognized Aang as the Avatar. Even when he was full on airbending, they weren't ever like, oh, hey, that's the Avatar, we should try to capture him. That wasn't the case at all. Everyone was just so stupid in episode 6. And then in this episode, the pirate barker, or Bryan Konietzko, was like, hey, I could tell from your clothes that you're travelers. And it's like, oh man.
Come on. Yeah. Like, I think, which episode was it with the Kyoshi? Where they immediately recognized his bending, making him the Avatar or whatever, right? Again, it's like a convenient thing of like people's ignorance, right? People either instantly recognize him or they're just like, oh. And also how they react to them. Usually you think that like, oh shit, they know we're the Avatar, we gotta go. But usually it's like, yeah, he's the Avatar.
It reminds me of Harry Potter, where Harry is like, oh, I don't want to be the chosen one. But, of course, when he benefits from it, he's like,
oh, heck yeah, give me that money.
But I totally forgot that Aang bought the Sky Bison whistle. For some reason in my head, I always thought he had it.
The whole time.
Yeah. And that's probably got to be the best investment ever.
And he got it for 1 bronze coin.
Yeah.
What a deal.
And that waterbending scroll costed 200 gold coins.
You know what? It's really kind of morbid, but it's probably so cheap because there aren't that many air bison anymore.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, is it like an antique buy? Or since it is so extinct, it's like a rare thing and so they mass produce it. But of course, like no one can really use it because there aren't any more sky bisons. But it's the thought of like, oh, I can summon a... But you see Long Fang use it later. I know you don't remember this, Anthony. I'm going to make you feel hella bad for not watching all of Avatar and remembering it.
I'm sorry.
But you see Long Fang use it later No, I think Aang uses it later to call on other animals too. Oh, when he's making the zoo. I don't fucking know.
We'll keep a tracker.
Yeah, well,
Starting from this episode, bison whistle uses.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, like it'd be interesting because it's like the show's attention to detail is pretty good.
Yeah.
Speaking about Azula, also the episode where it shows what happens to Zuko, she's there in that scene.
Yeah.
Also, and she's just smiling, and it's like, oh, seeing this fresh, it's like, I don't think you would have noticed who that was at all. But the fact that they put her in there already, like, being creepy as hell. Again, like, they have a really good attention to detail.
Yeah, there's a lot of callbacks, a lot of Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
I also think it's really cute that they mention how Boomy gave them money for their trip. And I was like, aw, that's a true homie right there.
Yeah.
Past Marilyn didn't notice that before, but podcast Marilyn sees you, Boom Boom. I see you, Boom Boom. I mean, when your friend is the king.
You think that he would have given them more money?
Are they really going to carry 200 gold coins on Appa?
I mean, have you seen Appa?
But Katara would have immediately spent all that money on that waterbending scroll.
True. Oh, I also thought that the little bartering scene was really cute. It's really silly. It's like, how about 1 bronze piece? Yeah, you just tell Aang's voice actor was really happy to do a pirate accent. It's like, finally, a pirate episode.
He's so shameless. Back at the waterfall, Aang tells him that those pirates were horrible, and Katara's like, I know, that's why I took this, and pulls out the waterbending scroll. Sokka starts giving her shit for stealing it, and Katara defends herself by saying that those pirates probably stole it from a waterbender. Sokka says it doesn't matter, because she put all of their lives in danger, just so she can, and I quote, learn some stupid fancy splashes. Oof.
Sokka, I defend you a lot, but you're wrong.
Katara tries to pass it off by saying that she stole it for Aang's sake, so that he can learn waterbending. Sokka's like, whatever, and walks away. Aang suggests that they try out the waterbending scroll. We cut back to the docks. Uncle Iroh tells Zuko that he couldn't find any lotus tiles in the shops, but managed to find other things. And we see like a bunch of henchmen just carrying like a million things back to the boat. Uncle Iroh spots the pirate ship and like dashes inside, and he's like fascinated by that ruby monkey thing, just like Katara.
It's so creepy, I hate it.
Zuko overhears the pirate barker telling the captain that they lost the girl and the bald little monk. And Zuko's like, wait, did this monk have an arrow on his head? Oh man, poor Bryan. The one episode he wants to do, no one recognizes the Avatar. Back to the waterfall. Katara asks Aang to hold up the scroll and promises him that he can have it after she practices it. She tries doing the single water whip, but ends up whipping herself on the forehead. Sokka's laughing his ass off and saying that she deserved it. He also calls Katara out on her bullshit and tells Aang that she's only interested in teaching herself. Katara says that he can have it once she masters the move. She tries again and ends up whipping Momo, this time in the butt. Aang tries to comfort her, but his way of comforting her is to demonstrate the water whip himself, and does it perfectly while lecturing her. But before he can finish teaching this lesson, Katara like just full on explodes at him, and it's pretty bad. Like, I don't want to say the quote, but I'm gonna say the quote.
Oh god.
Okay. So this is what she says. Can you please shut your air hole? Believe it or not, your infinite wisdom gets a little old sometimes. Why don't we just throw the scroll away since you're so naturally gifted?
Dang. Straight for the jugular.
Oh, Katara. I can't defend you right here.
But you know that was in her heart the whole time.
Which makes it even worse.
Ooh.
That's what happens when you just bottle everything inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't even do it justice. Like, the voice of Katara, Mae Whitman, does it so perfectly. And oh my god, like, Aang's face, poor guy. Like, he's...
Have you ever seen a man soul leave his body?
There's like an awkward silence, and Katara's like, what? And looks at Sokka, and he nods his head to Aang. We look over and see Aang is just about to cry. Oh man, he's holding it in. They even drew in like his chin trembling, Katara realizes what she did and apologizes to Aang and Momo for literally whipping his ass. She says she doesn't know what came over her and tells Aang that it won't happen again and hands him the scroll. We cut back to Zuko's ship. Zuko rides off on his mini ship. I'm going to call it a mini ship.
Yeah.
He rides off on his mini ship with the pirates to look for the gang. The captain's like, shouldn't we search the woods for these kids? And Zuko, in the nicest way possible, he basically said, hello, they stole a waterbending scroll, right? So obviously they're gonna be near water.
Yeah.
The doy. We cut back to the gang sleeping. Katara sneaks into Aang's bag and takes the waterbending scroll so that she could go practice with it. Momo catches her sneaking off, but doesn't do anything. He just stares at her.
He's traumatized.
Katara is like, shh, don't tell anyone, don't say anything. And it's like, what can Momo say? He can point. He's very conscious of his fingers. He has a thumb, which is very impressive. I can't believe Momo has a thumb. We cut to Katara struggling, like hardcore struggling with learning the water whip. She's complaining so loudly that Zuko and the captain can hear her from the river. And it's like, oh, Katara, no.
Do better.
One of the pirates try to grab her, but she strikes him with water, runs away, and bumps right into Zuko. And, oh my god, that scene, Anthony.
Oh god. Oh god, looking at your script, you have a different reaction than I do.
If you could draw an anime version
God.
of me, I'm blushing. Oh, Zuko.
I'm surprised they didn't make Katara blush a little bit, right? You could kind of see it. For me, though, I was like, ugh. What a fuckboy.
He is. He's such a fuckboy. He's like, I'll save you from the pirates. And he grabs her wrist. Oh, man.
This is what slash fics are made out of.
No. Is it even flirting at that point if he's holding her hostage?
It depends on who you ask.
But yeah, the flirting doesn't last long because immediately right after, Zuko asks her where Aang is. And Katara tells him to go jump in the river. Ouch. Zuko straight up starts blackmailing Katara and says he'll give her her necklace back if she gives him his honor back. What?
Nobody knows what that means yet, Zuko.
Zuko, you can't just say things like that. It's funny because Zuko tries to sound like he didn't do anything wrong because he clarifies that he didn't steal her necklace while he tied her up and started blackmailing her. Yeah. It's like, Zuko, you're so conflicted, stop. And while all this is happening, the pirate captain says he's had enough and wants his scroll back. Zuko makes a fireball with one hand, and he tells the captain, you mean this scroll? As he dangles the scroll over the fireball. And I paused the show again because I was like, wait, do they not know how fire works? Like, if you hold like a lighter to a candle wick, like the candle wick can still ignite without the flames ever touching it. There's like an invisible radius of heat.
That you can't see.
Yeah. And so if our physics logic applied to this show, that waterbending scroll would have definitely caught on fire.
Yeah. Maybe Zuko's like purposely limiting the range of this fireball. Maybe it's a low heat, but very flashy one. I don't know.
I kid you not, the flames licked the waterbending scroll. Anyways, I'm gonna forgive the show for that. He tells the pirates to capture Aang in exchange for the scroll. Dun dun dun.
Womp.
Oh my god, Zuko's a little thug in this episode.
I think this is like a really good example of him being a villain in this episode, like a little mini example, right? Because it's kind of like a basic observation. He's pretty intuitive with like, they stole the water scroll, right? Of course they're gonna practice near water. That's just good sense, right? Like, it's kind of something that like you might overlook, but like he knows that they're benders, and to everyone else they're kind of not really thinking about that, especially to the pirates, right? And like, yeah, how he manipulates people in this episode, he's just like, I don't know, chewing it up. He manipulates Katara. He manipulates the pirates. It's a lot, and it's good. I'm here for it.
Yeah, he's just blackmailing everyone left and right. And he's like, I'm gonna flirt with you. But
oh yeah, let's talk about the flirting. God, he's so like, I don't know, like cliche, like villainous. He's like leaning into the role so much in this episode. That takes it to the top. It's just like, oh, get out of here.
I swear, if anyone else voiced Zuko besides Dante Bosco, it would have definitely been 1,000 times creepier.
Yeah.
And not sexy at all. But since it's Dante Bosco...
His voice suits him so well, and he knows exactly how to play it.
Also, there's a line where Aang says, I used to look up to pirates, but those guys are terrible. Like, what? Aang, you used to look up to pirates? In what world? What?
I think this is maybe his first experience with actual real pirates. Because, like, as a kid, they probably, like, read books about pirates on the high seas. You know, like the glorified kind of like, oh, this is what pirates are. Swashbuckling, adventurous. That's what he is, right? And, like, seeing it firsthand, I was like, oh, this is what pirates are like? Yeah, maybe they're not so great. And again, it just shows, like, he's 112 years old, but he's still a child. Do we think Katara is wrong in stealing the scroll? Because my stance on it is, for me, in my opinion, I think Katara is completely in the right for stealing that scroll. Like, sure, Sokka says you put everybody in danger for stealing that, right? You put us all at risk. Like, yeah, that's valid. But the reason why I side with Katara in this is because a few reasons. The first one is a more practical one, right? They needed that scroll. They need that scroll for her to get better. They need that scroll for Aang to get better. And Aang getting better, that's super valuable. That by itself, I think, makes it worth taking that. Tactically, strategically, it helps them progress in their adventure, right? And second of all, it's kind of like she went full Killmonger, I feel.
Yes, yeah. I was thinking that.
It's that museum scene, except slap Katara's face on Killmonger's face. It's like, I'm gonna take that off your hands. Like, she's stealing back her culture, you know? She's stealing back what's rightfully hers, right? This thing was stolen from somebody.
Yeah, the captain says that they got it up north.
Yeah, and then she points out they probably got it from a water tribesman or whatever, right? So, like, it's them taking their culture back. And with how spread apart and how, like, ravaged their people are, like, that's very, very valuable. Even past monetary value, 200 gold pieces or whatever, it's just really important to, like, take back your culture, to make sure that it's in the right hands. And for that, I'm like, she absolutely should have stole that shit. Like, fuck those guys. But yeah.
I agree with her mindset, but I don't like how she put their lives in danger without them knowing. You know, like, it's very shady because she did it behind their backs. If she whispered to Aang, like, hey, yo, let's bounce. I stole something. Yeah. You know, like, let's fucking bounce.
Yeah, if she let everybody in on the plan. But I think that's part of the reason. The reason why she didn't do that maybe was she wasn't sure how Aang was going to react. She wasn't. Yeah. And she was sure exactly how Sokka would react, right?
True.
And it's the whole thing. Better ask for forgiveness rather than permission, right? Because, like, if she went in there, like, with that plan, they would have just left immediately. With Aang, I think he eventually probably would have turned around because she was like, oh, yeah, that's cool, or whatever, right? Like, I forget what he says.
Yeah, he was like, oh, sweet, awesome.
Yeah. He was like, good one, Katara, or whatever, right?
It's so funny because when people list the traits of Katara, the first thing they list is motherly. But right now, she's acting like a complete teenager. Oh, yeah. She's like going to a party without even asking for her parents' permission and then asking for forgiveness later.
Oh, I actually wrote down a note. It just says, oh, Katara stole. And then cue Britney Spears. Not so innocent.
No. I'm going to play the clip right here.
Oh, God.
And then it's so great because when Sokka's yelling at her for stealing, she says, I prefer to think of it as high-risk trading.
Yeah.
Back at ya.
Yeah, and then that's when Aang was like, good one, Katara. So, yeah.
And this is foreshadowing for when she becomes the Painted Lady. There's like a spark in Katara that is very vigilante style. She wants justice, even if it goes against the rules, against everyone's opinions. Like, she doesn't give a shit. It's kind of scary. Like, once Katara puts her mind to something, she's gonna do it and no one's gonna stop her. You see later how dangerous that can be for everyone, especially when she starts premeditating murder with Zuko to find her mother's killer. That shit's scary.
Yeah, like here it's innocent, right? It's like played off for laughs. The fact that, like, Sokka, I think, says she's obsessed with this scroll, right? And you can kind of see that she is a little obsessed with it. Because, like, she after apologizing to everybody, right? She still sneaks off at night and gets the scroll anyway in the middle of the dark. Yeah, it is kind of scary. In here, it's again not that serious, but like when you expound on that, right? Like it is kind of like a hint of her further tendencies to do that.
Do you think she knowingly lied to them when she said she doesn't want anything to do with the scroll? And then later that night, you see her stealing the scroll for her own selfish needs.
So it's either she lied to them and she actually did premeditate that and do that, right?
Or is she lying to herself?
I want to believe that she's lying to herself and that later on she just couldn't help it, right? Because, like, I don't think that she would willingly do that to the gang.
Yeah.
But, like, the possibility of that is, like, it's scary. But I think she just couldn't help herself. Another thing that this episode shows is that she's hella competitive. She's willing to do, like you said, once she puts her mind to it, she's going to do it. And that's what, eventually lets her be a waterbending master, right? Like, she's so fucking competitive. She's so competitive that she's willing to sneak off at night and, like, practice in the dead of night while everyone's sleeping. This is, like, the start of where they start uncovering more and more of her character and shows her, like, drive. I'm excited to continue watching and see her grow more and more. The writers for this show are just really good. Even though this is like, you could write this off as kind of like a simple episode, just this little episode shows so much with her character.
She's so fucking petty, dude.
It's cool. She's petty, yeah, but she's also everything else that she was.
Yeah.
She's nurturing. And it goes to show that female characters don't have to just be this one thing on a pedestal. You don't have to paint them to be perfect. They could be flawed. They could be petty as hell. They could be competitive as hell.
I talked about it earlier with Zuko's mindless ambition and how it gets him into trouble. You see Katara in this episode having that mindless ambition. Right. And her, ultimately getting the whole gang in trouble. And it reminds me of, God, I keep referencing Harry Potter. I'm sorry. Fun fact, I was inspired to make this podcast because of Potterless, ran by Mike Schubert. I'm currently listening to his podcast. I don't think I know anyone that's not a Harry Potter fan. Like, if I reference Harry Potter, I feel like everyone kind of knows.
Yeah, at least a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Just culturally, yeah.
And so in this episode, I kept thinking about Katara's kind of a Slytherin in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Zuko's definitely a Slytherin. You see this side of Katara that if this little snippet of Katara, this dirty side of Katara takes over her.
Scary.
It's so scary.
Yeah, especially with someone with that talent, right? Oh man, you could just write a whole alternate universe where Katara just snaps. And it's just like, I like how the show plays with that too in those later episodes.
Also, is Sokka racist? What's the term where...
What?
You know what I mean, right? He doesn't like benders.
At all. I don't think,
Bendist?
He's bendist. Like, you know what? Like, that's kind of like the stance that a lot of non-benders end up taking towards benders, right? Because it's like, look at these people with all their powers ruining everything or whatever, right?
Bendophobic.
I like that.
Yeah?
Bendophobia. I think it's because... I think it's just his underlying kind of like insecurity. He shows it all throughout. Like, it's rude as hell that he undercuts his sister all the time, like talking about her bending and just fancy little splashes.
Is it prejudice or discrimination the way Sokka is manifesting his insecurities and bendophobia?
I think, prejudice is just having that mindset. Discrimination is when you act on it. And depending on the episode, sometimes it's discriminate. With Fire Nation, he's absolutely discriminate. He doesn't trust any of them, especially firebenders. Like, he acts completely different towards them. He's both. He's prejudiced and discriminate. Because you can't be discriminate without having prejudice.
Oh man, Sokka, what are you doing?
He's grown up in the context of, like, this war and losing his parents to who else but benders. And having that loss and having that weight put on him because of benders, like, I feel like it's part of a defense mechanism that he has. Sokka and Jet are like a weird mirror of each other, like we were talking about with Katara. If that little dark part of her was expounded on, right? Jet is what Sokka would have been if he lets
that darkness take over.
Yeah, if he lets his hyper vigilance take over. Like, because he has like this weird survival's instinct, right? Like, people who have trauma, sometimes they manifest that. And like Sokka has a little bit of that, but Jet is completely that. But yeah, the next episode is like pretty fascinating because like Sokka is played up to be comedic most of the time, but I feel like, and again, the writing in the show is really good because it shows depth in everyone's character. Sokka is, he's damaged, man.
Back to the episode. It's sunrise now. Sokka wakes up and notices that Katara's gone. Aang's like, what's going on here? And Sokka tells Aang that she's obsessed with the waterbending scroll, and it's just a matter of time before he can finish his sentence, they get ambushed by pirates. The pirates take them to Zuko so that they can make the deal. Aang for the waterbending scroll. We see Katara tied up to a tree, and Katara says that it's all her fault, and Aang reassures her that it isn't. Uncle Iroh is like, it kind of is. It's pretty bad if Uncle Iroh calls you out on your bullshit.
Yup.
So they're about to make the switch when Sokka, his light bulb turns on again, but this time it's much quicker. He taunts the pirates by saying, "Are you really gonna trade the Avatar away?" And the pirates are like, huh? Zuko's yelling at them and tells them to not fall for it, but the pirates end up falling for it. Sokka keeps hardcore trying to sell Aang, and Zuko snaps at him and, I quote, says, "Shut your mouth, you water tribe peasant." Oof. Zuko. The captain tells Zuko that the deal is off, and Zuko is fucking pissed. The firebenders start blasting away. Bryan Konietzko, the pirate barker, starts full-on running at them and starts throwing smoke bombs. It's a full-on riot. Fire soldiers start firing away, and the pirates run at them with spears. The pirates throw a smoke screen on the ground, and the whole ground floor is completely covered in smoke. No one can see anything. Momo unties Katara from the tree. Aang is still tied up, but a stray knife conveniently flies in the air and cuts Aang out of his ties. The pirate captain attacks Zuko with a sword, and Zuko deflects with his metal shears? What are they called? Gauntlets that they put on forearms. It's pretty cool because this is the first time we see Zuko using his clothing to fight, and it's not all about firebending. This is when that rock with the chain tied around it comes into play. One of the pirates grapples the waterbending scroll with the chain rock, yanks it out, and before he can catch it, Momo swoops in and takes it. The captain's parrot starts chasing Momo to get the waterbending scroll back and ends up tackling Momo. Momo drops the waterbending scroll, and we see the scroll fall down in the smokescreen area where all of them are fighting. Sokka is still tied up. He finds a sword sticking up from the ground and cuts himself loose. He cries out for Aang, and Aang tells him to follow his voice, which doesn't help at all. Sokka says he can't find him, and Aang gets so annoyed that he airbends the smoke and pushes it out. And right when he does this, we see like 8 people circling him with their weapons aiming right at him. And he's like, just kidding, and sucks the air back in to cover the playing field again.
I love that shot so much. It's so funny. It's like, man. Whoop, never mind.
The cinematography and the editing is so great. Aang and Sokka run towards the pirate ship, and we see Katara trying to push the ship off the sand, but it doesn't work. Katara says they need a team of rhinos to move it, but Aang's like, a team of rhinos? Or 2 waterbenders, and looks like Katara. And oh my god, Katara's face. What's it called in anime where like the eyes start twinkling?
Ooh.
Is that really the term?
No, that's just a meme answer.
Anyways, Katara's eyes start twinkling even though her pupils aren't moving at all. And her and Aang start doing the push and pull method, and it works. They climb aboard the ship, and Uncle Iroh breaks up the fight between Zuko and the captain. The captain starts freaking out and chases after the ship. Zuko starts laughing his ass off, but then sees that the pirates stole his ship, and he starts chasing after it too. One of the pirates is about to straight up pull his pants down to moon Zuko, but it cuts before he can do it.
And Zuko's just like, God.
Which I didn't, past Marilyn didn't catch the first time. Like, wow, they went there.
Yeah, they did.
Good job, Nickelodeon. The pirates climb aboard the ship, and Aang waterbends some of them off it. One of the pirates starts closing in on Katara, but Katara uses the water whip successfully to knock him off the boat. There's like this huge moment where Aang's like, yay!
You did the water whip.
Woo!
No, I did it in like 2 minutes. If you were petty.
We cut to Momo fighting against the captain's parrot. It doesn't last long because Momo completely destroys the parrot, uses his flying against him and ties him up, and it's really cool watching that. Aang blows on his whistle and Sokka starts giving him shit again, and he's like, "What are you doing? This isn't time for flute lessons." The gang starts freaking out because they look up ahead and see that they're about to fall down a waterfall. Katara starts yelling at Aang to do the push and pull method with her, and they create like a dual whirlpool that's going in like opposite directions, which causes the boat to stay stagnant. But wait! Zuko's ship with the pirates full-on rails into them and causes the gang to get knocked off. They start free-falling down the waterfall, and just when it seems that all hope is lost, Appa comes in and saves the day. Yeah!
My voice is good.
Oh no! And this is the part where Aang's finally vindicated.
For getting the dang thing.
Yeah.
Best investment ever.
He's like, "I knew a bison whistle would come in handy." And Sokka's like, "Alright, we owe you one, Appa." Even though it was Aang that said it, I don't know.
Yeah, he's the one who literally came. Took him a while though, even though he's like literally, like, you know what? It took Appa kind of a while to get there. Because like, they're kind of like not that far. Because they're a little bit downstream from where Katara was practicing, right? So they couldn't have gone, like, for an air bison, he should have got there quick. But, you know, Appa, lazy butthole. And my headcanon is like, Appa's just like, huh?
How many miles per hour can Appa go?
Oh, bro, I want to see that. Like, how fast, if he really wanted to go, how fast can Appa go? I bet pretty fast. It'd just be interesting to see, like, his mouth flapping in the wind as he flies. Oh, it'd be real cute.
Zuko's really upset about losing his boat, and Uncle Iroh chooses this time to tell him that he had his lotus tile in his sleeve the whole time. Zuko's so mad that he grabs the lotus tile from him and chucks it in the air, and the lotus tile ends up hitting Bryan Konietzko in the head.
Oh, yeah.
We cut to the gang flying in the air. Katara apologizes again to Aang and admits that her insecurities got them all in danger. And she says what you said earlier about how she got really competitive. And it's like, no, you were petty as fuck. Like, don't...
It's not just that. Let's be honest.
But yeah, Aang's like, "It's fine." And Katara says that she's done with the scroll. But Sokka's like, "You mean this scroll?" And pulls it out. And Katara's eyes just start shimmering again.
So full ooh again.
And she tries to grab it out of Sokka's hand. And Sokka's like, "Nuh-uh, what did you learn today?" And Katara's like, "Stealing is wrong." She grabs the scroll from Sokka and adds, "Unless you steal from pirates."
Good one, Katara, says Aang.
Everyone laughs, and the gang rides into the distance, and the episode ends.
It's a good episode. It's such a good snippet of like what the show has to offer, I feel like. Especially for Katara. Because again, like I like that it characterizes her more. But like this episode is just really fun. It's swashbuckling action. The writing's really funny. I don't know. It's a good little episode.
Yeah, I find that I'm enjoying the slower episodes more as I'm doing this podcast. Probably by the time everyone's listening to this, I came on as a special guest for Legend of Portalcast. The topic for the episode that I was in was non-bender combatants.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, and so I had a lot of fun doing homework for it. Like, I try not to watch ahead doing Beyond Bending podcasts because I want everything to be fresh in my head. For Legend of Portalcast, I ended up watching the Northern Air Temple episode, where you find out the mastermind of all of the firebending machinery, Teo's dad. When I was analyzing that episode, I ended up actually really loving it. And it's crazy because that kind of was always a throwaway episode to me. Kind of same with this episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy how the slower episodes now, Podcast Marilyn enjoys it because there's so much more to analyze. Yeah. There's so much more to unpack.
Like, it seems like it's a throwaway episode, but they're usually doing something to characterize the cast more. They make use of the time pretty well. They always explore something with these episodes that aren't necessarily related to the main plot.
Yeah, and I hate the phrase filler episode because it trivializes and belittles the significance of what happens in the episode. Like, sure, it doesn't move the plot along, but if you have just plot, Like, look at all the shows that you felt were okay. It's probably because of that reason, because it was all plot and you couldn't get into the characters. It's like, why would I care about these characters? Why would I like the show? The waterbending scroll, I think, has got to be my favorite so far. I don't know. I don't want to say
Don't put that on me. But it's really good. Episodes like this really make it feel like they're going on a lot of different journeys, right? These episodes that don't necessarily, again, tie into the main plot are still like really good vignettes of their experiences, right? Because like they end up learning something from every one of these episodes. And like, yeah, like at the end of it, it's like, wow, we've been through a lot. Episodes like this really make it feel like an adventure.
Yeah, I think the show does a good job with kind of balancing out in every episode someone fucks up. Like they take turns fucking up. Yeah. This episode was Katara. The episode before that was, I'm trying to think when Sokka fucks up.
A lot. Let's be real.
Aang fucks up all the time.
He does. Yeah, they pass the blame around. There is no Jerry in this, in this show.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk about Katara. When she does the water whip, maybe it was so fast the animators didn't bother to show like the full Tai Chi movement that was in the scroll. But I swear she like did the water whip in her own method, in her own way, which makes me wonder, is she the first to like revolutionize bending in a sense? Because once you get to Korra, you see like mixed martial arts.
Oh, you mean like where she's starting to not necessarily do things traditionally, but like streamline it so it's wata. And like, yeah, I could see that. It's not surprising that she would create her own techniques eventually.
I kid you not, when she did the water whip, she did it like her own Katara way. Because that would make sense, like why she's having such a hard time learning the Tai Chi movement, because she would do it her own way. And she does when she's fighting off the pirates.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's that do or die kind of thing that forces her to realize, like, I gotta just do it, or whatever, right?
Yeah, you can't really have time to, I don't know, do like 5 movements. Yeah. It's a slow process. It's a very M. Night Shyamalan, where it takes forever to earthbend one rock. It takes a team of 5 earthbenders to... a lot of dancing and little action.
I don't even remember the waterbending in that movie. It's better that I don't try to. Yeah, that's a good observation. Like, it makes sense that it's a hint of her great potential talent.
And then it gets fleshed out more in Korra, where I forgot his name, but he can bloodbend with just his eyes. Yeah, like
it's wild.
He's handcuffed, and his mind. It makes me wonder, like going back to Harry Potter. I'm sorry.
Okay. You should have a jar. It's like Harry Potter reference. Put something in the jar.
What can I do with that? I'll just. But yeah, in the Harry Potter universe, they verbally say out spells as a way to channel their magical energy, but they don't have to say it. Like, once they get advanced enough, they don't have to say it. And I feel like that's the case with bending, too. Yeah. Like, these forms, you get, like, traditional Chinese forms, and then later it becomes more westernized. Like in Korra, the boxing, like when they're... What's the sport called?
Oh, man, hold on. I'm gonna Google it. It's bothering me. But yeah, in terms of, like, starting with the traditional stances into the more informal ones, I think that's kind of like a general thing that happens to like all things, right? When you're learning something, you always should start with the foundations, but as you gain mastery, you start to learn where you can break the rules. Yeah. And like with Katara, maybe she starts doing that here. Pro bending. That's so anticlimactic, but it's just called pro bending. I didn't even look it up, it just came to me. Oh. Whack. You could have called it something, anything else.
Pro bending.
Pro bending.
I thought it was so funny how when Sokka was hella advertising Aang to the pirates, Aang was so uncomfortable, and I'm pretty sure in his head he was like, can you stop trying to sell my body? And it's like, yes, Aang, this is how all women feel. Oh, wow. Objectified as fuck.
This is how now you know. But yeah, I thought that scene was really funny too. And also, Sokka is really charismatic when he needs to be. I joke all the time that like Sokka is like a D&D character if you put all your stats in charisma and luck.
Yes.
Because like he gets so lucky, but when he needs to, he can like talk his way out of a situation. And like this is like a really good example of it where it's like this is really sticky. Like Zuko's right there, he has him captive, right? But then like yeah, like his slow light bulb goes on. And once it's on, he uses that silver tongue. It's really good. It's kind of like if Han Solo, he was like Han if he had a family. Oh, that's real sad. Never mind.
Wow.
He's kind of like a scoundrel in that like he'll talk his way out of anything.
Aang too, though. Aang knows how to butter people up and boost their egos because he's egotistical himself.
Like earlier, it's like, yeah, but it's because I got a good teacher. Wink.
And Katara eats that shit up. She loves it when people boost her ego balloon.
I think deep down, she's really prideful, and that's why she's so competitive. She knows that she's like hot shit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like they all think that. It's kind of funny, right? Because like Aang thinks he's hot shit. So does Katara. And so does Zuko. And so does Sokka, goddammit. But he doesn't want to admit it.
But it's different forms of confidence, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really compelling. Like, Aang is full-on confidence just bursting out of him.
And it's like a positive, usually positive, like confidence, where he's just like really proud.
And then you got Katara that has inner confidence.
It's like low-key.
Once that's challenged, it gets really ugly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You got Zuko that...
It's just brooding. Like, I'm good and I know it. I need my honor. Has anyone seen my honor?
And then you got Sokka with his fake confidence.
His
that
front for confidence. Yeah. And it's kind of like how all of that interacts eventually.
And causes chaos.
Yeah. And you got Azula with... Okay,
No!
Please.
Let's not get there yet.
Yeah. There's a lot there.
Going back to Zuko... It's so bad. All right, pull out the alcohol because I'm going to make another Harry Potter reference. He was like, you water tribe peasant. Ugh. Might as well just say mudblood, yeah, Zuko. Might as well just fucking...
Potter.
It's so bad. Come on, Zuko.
Do better, Zuko.
Is he redeemable?
Yeah. Like his whole arc is like I really like their dynamic, Uncle Iroh and Zuko, because like his whole arc throughout the show is him transitioning from toxic masculinity into a healthy masculinity, right? And his Uncle Iroh always trying to turn him away from that toxicity the whole time. It's really interesting this early on just how bad Zuko is, because it's like it's before he starts changing, before all of the stuff. Because at this point, we don't even know how he got the scar yet. Like, we don't even know anything about him yet.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, it just seems like he's just, like, this asshole. But, like, his arc ends up being really interesting, as we all know. But, yeah, I definitely think he's redeemable.
I also love how when Uncle Iroh is breaking up the fight between the captain and Zuko's like, we don't have any time for your proverbs, Uncle. It's so funny. He's like, wait, that could be a proverb.
I should make that a proverb. I would read a book of proverbs from Uncle Iroh. Shoot. I would read all of it, and it would be great.
Is this whole episode planned by Uncle Iroh? Because there's no such thing as coincidence, right? Like, he just happens to lose, air quotes, lose the lotus tile, go to the same dock area as the gang, goes in the same ship. That's perfectly timed to where Zuko can eavesdrop and hear Bryan Konietzko tell the captain that they lost the little bald monk with the arrow on his head.
Very, very convenient, right?
Yeah.
And it's all because of Uncle Iroh being... I lost this piece. Starting on this wild goose chase or whatever, right? I don't know. Being the master, was it Pai Shao player that he is? Maybe he is thinking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead and we just don't know it, right? And like, yeah, that would be extremely galaxy brain of him if he did plan this whole thing. Because yeah, it is very, very convenient that all these things lined up. And then turns out he had the thing. Yeah, it's funny. But it's like, wouldn't it be really interesting, yeah, if he did plan it the whole time?
But how?
He's got some weird sense, or he knew to track Appa's fur before everyone else.
Food for thought.
Yes. He has a contact with the pirates. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, it's very, very convenient.
When I was recapping, I didn't know how to feel about Katara. I still kind of don't. Like, I mentioned it before, where I relate to Katara the most.
Yeah.
Like, I get pretty petty sometimes too, but I'm also very motherly. But her way of justifying her stealing, I don't think I would be able to do that. But again, if I was a waterbender, no, actually, I can see myself stealing this girl too. Fuck!
Yeah.
It's like looking in a mirror and it's unflattering.
Part of it is like embarrassing to be like, would I steal that? Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. The way I like to see it is like, part of her stole it because, like, again, the whole Killmonger thing is her taking her culture back. Like, that for me rings true very well. Because, like, I don't know, it was like big Filipino colonialism, like, wrecked our culture, right? From, like, the Spanish, we lost a lot. Having an opportunity to, like, reclaim those lost artifacts back, that would be great. In terms of Katara, like, having a chance to, like, have a piece of that. Because, like, she's the last bender in her tribe, you know?
Yeah.
Right? This is not only just knowledge for her, right? But it's, like, this really valuable part of her culture that's been almost all but wiped out. Yeah, I'd like to believe that she did it not just because she was being competitive. I mean, I'm sure that's part of it. But it's like, yeah, the whole thing of, like, I'm taking this back from you assholes. You fucking pirates. This is my people, you know?
Yeah.
And I want it back. Like, yeah, she is very petty in this episode, but, like, I still like how she was characterized because, like, everybody has a bad day. And, like, it shows that she still grows from it. She still recognizes that what she did had repercussions. And at the end of it, hopefully she learned something. Wink, wink. Stealing from pirates. I think what she did that was kind of mean was blowing up on Aang. She's probably been holding that in. She's competitive and she sees Aang just bend so easily and, like, him having all this wisdom and her not having that opportunity because, again, being the last bender. Of course, I think maybe she would feel a little bit of jealousy or competitiveness. So I feel like while, yeah, I understand that she would have those feelings bottled up, her blowing up on Aang was still kind of like, yikes.
Yeah. You think Sokka has insecurities. It's funny because in my mind, I was thinking this part of Katara is Zuko all the time.
Yeah, like impulsive, super driven to a fault. Yeah, like competitive to a fault. Like wanting to prove himself to a fault. Like, God, yeah.
There's a lot of foreshadowing in this episode. I'm pretty sure Long Feng was the one.
Was the one who was hinted at?
Yeah. Katara didn't get her necklace back yet, right?
Yeah, no, she didn't.
Wow, Zuko, you fucking dick.
He's holding on to that.
Maybe that's why she's so hellbent on preserving her culture with the waterbending scroll, because she lost
Her mom's necklace.
Yeah, and she needs to fill that void because it's just eating her up inside.
That makes it even worse, right? It's like, here's this one thing that my mom gave me, and I couldn't even hold on to that.
Oh, I also wanted to bring up, I'm trying to think of the waterbending symbol as we know it. We know and associate it with waterbending.
Yeah.
It's on Katara's necklace, it's on the waterbending scroll, and so is that the symbol for the Northern Water Tribe? Or is it a universal water tribe symbol?
And how did the water tribes get separated already? If they were one peoples at one time, and they eventually got split up?
Later, we learned that Katara's necklace was her mom's necklace, was her grandma's necklace, that was a betrothal necklace. And you see Yue's betrothal necklace is different.
Oh.
So it makes me wonder, because Paku was the one that made the betrothal necklace for Katara's gran.
Are you wondering if that's like part of their just family?
I don't know. Is it the waterbending symbol? Like the universal waterbending symbol? Or is it specific? Or did Paku create the symbol and it just manifested into...
It became synonymous with waterbending?
Yeah. I need to look out for that when we do go to the Northern Water Tribe, if the symbols are scattered everywhere.
Yeah, if it is, yeah. And like we barely see that much of the Southern Water Tribe either. And that's like the weird thing about bending, right? Is that like, is it purely genetic? It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, right? Like, your parents could not be benders, and then you become a bender.
Yeah, because I think Katara is the only waterbender in her family.
Yeah, okay.
She's Hermione. Okay, I'm gonna take a shot.
God dang it. She's just Hermione. Yeah, it would be interesting because, like, that theory of, like, if it is her family crest or something, right? And it's, like, a signifying of water benders. What does that mean?
Like Superman and his S symbol.
Yeah, like, it just means...
If we go off of Zack Snyder's version. Sorry for bringing that up. Food for thought.
Yeah, to be continued. I also would like to say firebenders are not cheaters.
Ooh.
We'll get into that later on, maybe.
Give me a little bit.
Let's just say firebending is a misnomer.
What?
And that firebending isn't what you think it is. Firebending isn't simply just bending fire. Because the whole argument is that they're creating fire from nothing, right? But it is coming from something. And that's all I'll say from that.
Oh. I was thinking about it too. And I think I'm thinking the same thing that you're thinking of. Joanna is going to come in for the Blue Spirit episode. So... I'll have her defend herself against Brian's comment. And we'll see how that goes.
We'll see how that shakes out.
But yeah, thank you, Anthony, for being on this episode.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry my voice is so bad.
That's fine.
But yeah, I appreciate it. It was really fun.
Any plugins, social media?
Follow me at ssampalok on IG. Maybe I'll start posting pictures sometime soon. Who could say?
You made me feel better about Katara in this episode, so thank you.
Yeah, she's perfect. There's nothing wrong with Katara. Absolutely nothing. Ever.
What's your favorite catchphrase? No! I forgot again! Alright.
What?
Before I forget, what bender would you be?
Oh, gosh. Who would I be? Either Katara or Zuko.
You'd be both.
Heck, I'm basically a freaking guy from My Hero Academia. Basically Shota. Because he does this thing where he's like both fire and ice. And it's really cool when he can combine them. But yeah.
You'd be Zutara.
That's probably like the ship name. Well, I wonder what their ship name is. You
Yeah,
know there's
Zutara.
a ship name. It is Zutara?
Yeah.
God damn it. Of course.
You can only choose one.
Shoot. For now, on this rewatch, I'm feeling Zuko more right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're not at Toph yet. Otherwise, that would be my answer. But right now, I'm feeling Zuko right now. Because, like, it's so interesting to see how far he goes. Like, the journey he takes is wild.
What's your favorite catchphrase?
Flameo Hot Man.
Flameo hot stuff.
Flameo Hot Stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to be PC.
Okay, yeah, I'm here for it. That's good, that's better, yeah. Flameo Hot Stuff.
You agree?
I agree.
All right.
It's neutral.
Let's be progressive. Flameo hot stuff.
Flameo Hot Stuff.
When you're flying in the sky on a bison way up high with your friends around you and a little llama too on a journey across the sea, we'll be soaring peacefully, drinking cactus juice all day till we hallucinate.